Wow, wow, wow. Gordon Chang is a warmonger and a pseudo-China expert.
We like to thank Kevin Chung and Quora.com for using this clip from their website. Why does Gordon Chang hate China so much? I used to think of Gordon Chang as a Chinese Uncle Tom. But now I realize he is much worse than that. He isn't just subservient to white folks, the definition of an Uncle Tom, but he has to bash China twice as hard compared to even the most extreme right-wing white supremacist, in the vain attempt to show that he isn't a Chinese. He's a horrible and pathetic person, and it is his self-loathing that drives him to be so venomous towards China. To understand him, we need to focus on his childhood. More specifically, the racist abuse and discrimination he endured during his formative years as a result of his Asian appearance. Rather than blaming his victimizers, he blames his own Chinese appearance. He blames China and everything Chinese. He is like the wimp who gets bullied, and rather than fighting back, tries to find new victims for his oppressors to oppress. Not only that, but he partakes in the abuse with twice the viciousness as other bullies in order to fit in.
China is preparing for war?
Yes, the signs are unmistakable. So, for instance, at the Communist Party's 20th National Congress in October, Xi Jinping appointed what's called the War Cabinet. Of course, he's sponsoring the largest military buildup since the Second World War. He is trying to sanctions-proof his regime, and most ominously, he is mobilizing China's civilians for war. In July, a Chinese entrepreneur making medical products for the civilian sector told me that Communist Party officials came to him and ordered him to switch his production lines from civilian products to military products. There's been similar orders given to other manufacturers. As a matter of fact, the Communist Party is now operating factories once owned by private entrepreneurs because the private entrepreneurs said that they did not want to stick around for Xi Jinping's war.
Why is China doing this? What advantage do they gain by going to war?
That's a great question. I think that part of it is Xi Jinping must be seeing a closing.
China is preparing for war?
Yes, the signs are unmistakable.
In an interview with Newsmax on November 9th, China expert Gordon Chang said that China poses a clearly visible threat with the testing of a nuclear-capable hypersonic missile. Chang said, "This, first of all, is a violation of the Outer Space Treaty to which China is a party. This weapon can drop out of space and incinerate an American city with very little warning. We were the leaders in hypersonic flight in the 1960s. We chose not to develop this because we didn't want to start an arms race, but we didn't entice the Chinese and the Russians into being reticent about this." He added that the test is a failure of the United States to understand China, and as such, the Chinese have pulled ahead. Chang also blamed China for the deliberately release of the coronavirus that killed 755,000 Americans, and the fentanyl crisis that took the life of 53,000 Americans.
He said that given that everybody's
We're at an inflection point with China.
Well, Mike Gallagher was on this program, and he told us that he's worried mostly about 2024. We've got an election, presidential election in 24. Taiwan has an election in 24. He said that given that everybody's focus will be on that, he thinks that's going to be the time that China goes into Taiwan. I mean, the question is, how would the U.S. react?
Yeah, we don't know. We know that President Biden on 4 occasions said that the U.S. would militarily defend Taiwan. But on each of those 4 occasions, the White House, the Defense Department, State Department walked it back. Beijing saw the disarray. The one thing that we know is that China is making fast preparations for war. Now, Mark Milley, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, just about 24 hours ago said all of this was overheated rhetoric, the way he put it. But the point is, China is preparing to kill Americans, and we've got to prepare to defend ourselves. So we're at an inflection point with China.
Gordon Chang with us this morning. All right, Gordon, what is the significance of this direct challenge from Xi Jinping?
Xi Jinping and his foreign minister, Qin Gang, are building a case for war. They're trying to justify a strike on the United States. James Lilly, our great ambassador to Beijing in the 1980s and 1990s, put it best when he said, the Chinese always telegraph their punches. Well, Xi Jinping is telegraphing his punch.
How important is the military in China at the moment?
It's getting more and more power over the political system. And we see this, at the National People's Congress, which is now ongoing. They announced a 7.2% increase in the Chinese military budget. We don't know what exactly it'll be, but it's certainly greater than GDP growth for this year. Just go back to last year. They announced a 7.1% increase for 2022. They actually had GDP growth of a reported 3.0%, but a lot of economists and analysts think it was actually negative. That shows you the Chinese military is getting so much power in the system, and that means the Chinese military are now thinking about what they can do, not what they should do. And one of the things they think they can do and did was to fly the spy balloon over our country.
Now, Speaker McCarthy, he's going to meet Taiwan's president in California. He's not going to Taiwan. Are you disappointed with that?
I'm a little bit, in the sense that McCarthy going to Taipei was a deterrence message. Now, I don't care if he actually goes to Taipei, but if he doesn't, then Tsai Ing-wen, the Taiwan president, should be met in Washington, D.C. That's a clever way of getting back at the Chinese, saying, oh, you know, McCarthy shouldn't go to Taipei. Okay, well, we'll have the Taiwan president meet our president and the Speaker of the House in Washington, D.C. That's a deterrent message, and we need more of those messages.
Vivek Ramaswamy, who's running for the presidency, on this program says, look, we've really got to, not exactly stick it to the China, but we've got to say American businesses should not be doing business in China. Look, I find that rather extreme. How about you?
Well, it is extreme if you're talking about peacetime, but if you think you're going to war, and the Chinese think they are, then it's not extreme, because it is strategically and morally wrong to give your enemy, and the Chinese do call us an enemy, Stu, to give the enemy the means in order to develop their military, which is configured to fight America. So, no, it's not extreme, not at this time when we are on the precipice of the Third World War.
If Disney withdrew from China or was not allowed to do business there, or Apple or any of our technology companies, that's huge. I mean, that's incredibly disruptive.
Sure. And so is the death of hundreds of millions of Americans.
Yeah, but they've not got there yet, have they?
No, but that's where they're going, Stu.
Preemptive action.
Yeah. Look, Stu, the Chinese political system is now mobilizing China's civilians for war. In July, an entrepreneur told me that in China, he's making medical products for the civilian sector. He told me that Communist Party cadres went to him and demanded that he convert his production lines to make items for the Chinese military. The Communist Party has given that order to many Chinese factory owners. And in fact, the Communist Party is now operating a lot of factories that once were privately owned because the owners did not want to stick around for what they thought was Xi Jinping's war. That's how close we are.
It's ominous, Gordon. And thank you very much for being with us. Appreciate it, sir. Thank you. Gordon Chang with us this morning.
China doesn't want to go to war with America unless necessary. China doesn't want to go to war with America unless necessary. China doesn't want to go to war with America unless necessary.
China wants to be the regional hegemon in Asia within the next 10 years, and they want to exceed global U.S. military power by mid-century.
美方时不时就会发表这种以己夺人的错误言论。根本原因在于始终没有看清世界和平发展大势，没有走出零和博弈的思维定式。其所谓维持决定性优势，无非是想一家独大，继续以霸权行霸道，谋一己私利。中国绝不走追逐霸权、国强必霸的老路。如果要问我们的目标是什么，那就是做更好、更强的自己，不断提升捍卫国家主权、安全、发展利益的能力，为维护世界与地区的和平稳定，服务构建人类命运共同体贡献力量。
China wants to be the regional hegemon in Asia within the next 10 years, and they want to exceed global U.S. military power by mid-century.
美方时不时就会发表这种以己夺人的错误言论。
Those who denigrate and treat people of the same ethnicity with contempt in a misguided belief that this will secure their status as honorary whites. Those who would say things like, "You people," to people of the same skin color. He is nothing but scum, living a life of denial.
Hello friends, we come to the end already. Have you subscribed yet? Yes, press the subscribe button, and the like button and the share button. Thank you and have a nice day.